After Jerusalem was destroyed in 587 BC, the people of God were defeated and exiled to Babylon. There they wept as they struggled to see God's power and faithfulness and love in the midst of such dark times. It felt like the end of their story as a nation. But it was prophets like Jeremiah who were able to speak hope into this situation, reframing the people's thinking to see how God was at work even through the darkness, calling the people to continue to live as who they are, even in a foreign land, and restoring the situation with poetic words that inspired imagination of restoration still to come. In chapter 29, Jeremiah writes a letter to the exiles, encouraging them unexpectedly to settle down, to make homes and have families, and to live out and extend the goodness and peace of God to those around them. Jeremiah 29 verse 11 is probably the best known verse in the whole book, and perhaps the most misunderstood. It speaks of God's purpose for his people to give them a future hope, but it is a future hope that comes through the darkness of the exile. And God's purpose is not what they might think in such a difficult time, evil or harm, but God's purpose is actually Shalom. This Hebrew word commonly translated here as to prosper. Shalom is so much more than what we might think of as prosperity. Shalom is wholeness. It is the setting right of all things, the restoration of all that has been broken. And how does this shalom come? Well, in verse 7, God says to the people, "Seek the shalom of the city to which I have exiled you, for in its shalom will be your shalom." It's actually in extending shalom to the people, the community around them, that the people of God will experience this wholeness for themselves. It's in demonstrating justice and beauty and right relationships and restored creation, even to the stranger and the enemy, that God's wholeness is made complete. Jesus says to his disciples that loving God and loving neighbor are two sides of the same coin. God's kingdom comes when his will is done on earth as it is in heaven. And so the question for us might be, where is the invitation of God to extend his shalom to our cities, our neighbors, our world in this season?